When our next guest was a young girl growing up in India, her father used to bring her Cadbury fruit and nut bars after he returned from trips to England. The love of that chocolate helped inspire her to open her own candy store, Dwaar Chocolate in Keego Harbor. Joining us now is Rajani Konkipudi. Rajani, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
How are you? Thank you.
So, can you tell us a little bit about your upbringing in India, where you first began your love of chocolate?
I was raised in a very traditional Indian family, where Indian sweets are mostly sugar, ghee, lots of other flour things fried. But yeah, chocolate was always a special treat for us because it meant a little more indulgence, and that's how I started, eating and loving, falling in love with chocolate, as any girl would do.
And could you talk about when you moved to the United States, what brought you over here?
So I got married, moved over here with my spouse, and have been living in Michigan for almost 30 years now, close to 30. And slowly I got acquainted with a lot of folks who are in the chocolate business. And through that, we went on a trip to Ecuador. And then, that was it. Once you go see how cocoa is grown, how you can actually make your own chocolate, that was very fascinating. And so there was no looking back after that.
So now, do you have formal training in making this chocolate, or did you just kind of figure it out on your own, or how did that process work exactly?
Initially, it was a 4-hour class that I took. And it was very fascinating. When I left the class, I looked at the grinder that was sitting there, and it is an old Indian spice grinder that we use. And I'm thinking in my head, I have that, and I can make chocolate, which is so cool. So of course, I asked the gentleman if I could borrow, buy some cocoa nibs from him, and that's how it started. And I started experimenting. Slowly, at some point, I decided, okay, I think I need to put some formal training on my resume along the way. But by then, I had already experimented, made chocolate, and friends loved it. So I think about a year and a half into my chocolate journey, I decided to take a formal class.
And so you opened a store in Keego Harbor. Keego Harbor is a very eclectic area of businesses. You have such a wide array of stuff, like things you wouldn't surprise there. Like the first time I drove by and I saw that's Dwaar Chocolate, I said, I did not realize it was right there. So how did you settle on Keego Harbor as the location for Dwaar?
It's it's very close to where I live. I live in West Bloomfield. So at the time when I was looking for something, I was looking for, of course, location close enough. And then, of course, Sylvan Lake, Orchard Lake, Keego, everything is so intertwined. So I think this was the best fit.
So what is it about your chocolate that makes it unique from other types of chocolate?
Well, chocolate in general, we are so used to buying it at a grocery store, right? And we don't really understand the process behind what goes into making chocolate. So it's not only the process of making chocolate, but the fact that I can actually source cocoa beans from around the world, which means I get in touch with other people. I actually form a relationship with either the farmers. We either do direct trade or we do fair trade through importers. So you develop a rapport with your farmers and their lives, and also with the importers. And so over time, it becomes one big family, and you have a sense of fulfillment when you actually make that chocolate.
So now, when you travel to various countries and to try their cocoa beans, how do you how can you tell what is a good bean, what is a bad bean, what is unique? How does that like on your palate? How does that taste?
It's so interesting because when you ferment the cocoa bean, it is so different. And that's why we have experts who actually are really good at understanding the fermentation process. Because by the time we get the beans, it's already dried, fermented, and dried. So for us, when we travel there, we have experts who help the farmers understand how fermentation works. And also, they have a grading system. So they teach us, and it's funny because we learn more from the farmer and the grower at that point than what we do here on this end of production.
So, if I'm not mistaken, did Dwar Chocolate open kind of in the middle of the COVID pandemic?
Yes,
And so,
pretty
so
much.
yeah, probably not the best time to open any kind of a business, especially a food business. So how was that beginning, and how are things going right now?
It was scary because we just opened, or we did our first show selling our first bar of chocolate in 2019 at a craft show downtown Detroit. And come 2022, we already signed a lease, and we're like, oh, we're going to do this. 2020 hit, and we closed shop. We didn't have any production going on at the time. And then comes the New York Times. They were doing an article, and that pretty much put our name out there for the country to notice. And at that time, we actually were very happy for that, and we got a lot of sales. So it wasn't for that, we would have not survived. I probably would have closed up shop. We are doing much better now. We have a retail space, as you can see in the back. People are beginning to notice that we exist. So we do get small foot traffic, but definitely more marketing and more awareness will be helpful.
Rajani, can you remind our viewers exactly where you're located and also how they can find you online and via social media?
We are on Castlake Road in Keego Harbor, right across from Roosevelt Elementary School. And you can reach us, you can get our products online. It's www.dwaarchocolate.com. You're more than welcome to come into the store, check out the process. We always take you in the back room to show what we produce. If we have a grinder going, you can always get a sample of what we're grinding for the day. So you're more than welcome to stop in. Rajani, and we are open mostly Saturday and Sundays, so please stop by.